Okay, let's unpack this. If you're, someone who's serious about learning English,
Hmm.
you probably know how vital a good dictionary is, right? Especially online ones now.
Absolutely. They're essential tools.
But have you ever just looked at that, like, endless list of online dictionaries and thought, okay, which one of these is actually going to work best for me?
That's the big question, isn't it? There's just so much out there. How do you find the resources that are genuinely going to help you understand English better?
Exactly. Well, that's what we're digging into today. We got some really interesting stuff here. The results from some detailed tests by the English Voice Club.
Ah.
Yeah, they put 9 popular online English dictionaries under the microscope, really tested them out.
And what's interesting is how they tested them. They didn't just glance at them. They picked specific common verbs: talk, go, pick.
Right. Which sounds simple, but it's actually pretty clever, isn't it?
It really is, because those verbs are, well, they're complicated. Multiple meanings, tons of phrasal verbs.
Like pick up, pick out.
Exactly. And idioms, too. You know, those phrases like talk the talk, where the meaning isn't obvious from the words.
Totally makes sense. I mean, if a dictionary can handle all the different ways we use a word like talk, it's probably pretty reliable overall.
Mm-hmm. Good indicator.
So our mission here today is basically to pull out the actionable advice from these tests for you, the listener. We want to help guide you towards the best online dictionary. Or maybe, a couple of them, depending on your level and what you need.
Right, because it's not always a one-size-fits-all situation.
Definitely not. And to do that, we're going to look closely at the 6 key things they tested for in their evaluation.
Understanding those criteria is really key, I think. It lets you see why one dictionary might be better than another for your specific goals. It's like looking under the hood.
Right. So let's lay them out first. Completeness. Simple enough. Did the dictionary actually give you all the relevant definitions? Seems basic, but apparently not always the case.
Yeah, you'd be surprised.
Second, they checked phrasal verbs, collocations, and idioms. Did it define things like talk into or word pairs like make a decision, those collocations and idioms?
Crucial stuff for sounding natural.
Then number 3, UK versus US English. Did it explain pronunciation differences or, how a word might be used differently?
That's a big one. You want to know if you're using British or American phrasing, right? Avoid sounding a bit off.
Definitely. Okay, 4th criterion. Verb structures and complements. This is more grammar focused, like after talk, do you say to someone, with someone,
Right.
about something? Did the dictionary make that clear?
The nuts and bolts of sentence building. Very important.
Test 5. Could you do a direct lookup of phrasal verbs and idioms? Like, could you type in pick up directly, or did you have to find pick first and then scroll?
Ah, the convenience factor. Huge time saver.
Totally. And finally, number 6 was clarity and ease of use. Basically, was the website easy to navigate? Was the information laid out well, or was it just a mess?
Yeah, the user experience, even if the info's there, if it's hard to find or understand, you're just not going to use it effectively, are you?
Exactly. Okay, so keeping those 6 tests in mind, let's get to the results, the recommendations. This is what people want to know.
Right, the bottom line.
So, based on these tests, the English Voice Club found some clear winners. For learners who are, say, upper intermediate or advanced, and you want the most comprehensive, detailed option, their top pick is Longman.
Okay, Longman for the advanced crowd.
Yep. And then for learners maybe at the intermediate level or below, though they hinted it could be good for higher levels too, actually, especially if you value clarity. The other big recommendation is Lexico.
Lexico. Okay, so Longman and Lexico are the front runner.
Those are the 2 main takeaways, yeah. Now let's dig into why. Why Longman first?
Yeah.
What made it number 1 for advanced users?
What did the test show?
Well, they called it, and I'm quoting here, by far the most complete dictionary. It had everything, all the definitions, really clear stuff on verb complements, loads of phrasal verbs, idioms, for the works.
That level of completeness is exactly what advanced learners often need, isn't it? To really get into the subtleties of meaning and usage.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just that it had the info. Longman apparently provides tons of example sentences, and get this, a lot of them have audio recordings.
Oh, wow. For pronunciation practice.
Exactly. Really helpful if you're working on your spoken English. Plus, the examples come from like real-world texts, so you see the language used authentically.
That context is so important, not just the definition, but how it actually works in a sentence, in real life.
Right. And another cool thing they mentioned,
Yeah.
you can look up whole phrases directly. Like the example was, know what you're talking about. You type that in, and it has its own entry.
That's really smart. Because we often learn language in chunks like that, don't we?
We do. It shows they understand how people actually use English.
Yeah.
There was one small downside noted.
Oh.
While Longman gives both UK and US pronunciations, it doesn't explicitly say which is which. Apparently, the UK one comes first, then the US.
Okay. So just something to be aware of if you're really focusing on one specific accent. A minor point, maybe?
Yeah, it seems minor, but the good stuff kept coming. It also has extras like verb tense tables that pop up
Handy.
and a really good thesaurus. Not just lists of synonyms, but explanations of the slight differences in meaning between them.
Ooh, that's valuable. Helps you choose precisely the right word.
Exactly. And on top of all that, they said it was pretty easy to use, clean design. So overall, really strong showing for Longman, especially if you're advanced.
Sounds very comprehensive indeed.
Okay, so now let's talk about the other winner, Lexico. What made it stand out, particularly for intermediate learners, but maybe for others too?
Well, the big thing for Lexico, it seems, was just exceptional clarity and organization. They really focused on making the information easy to find and digest.
How so?
Like for each definition, you immediately see one clear example sentence straight away. But then there's an option to click for more examples if you want them.
Oh, I like that. So you get the basics quickly, but can go deeper if needed. Kind of anticipates different needs.
Exactly. It's a very user-friendly approach, not overwhelming you up front.
And it wasn't just pretty, right? It scored well on content, too.
Oh, yeah. It actually got a perfect 100% for completeness in the tests, just like Longman.
Wow, okay. That's impressive.
Definitely. And they also liked how it keeps phrasal verbs, collocations, and idioms in nicely separated sections. Makes it easier to find what you're looking for.
Yeah, that makes sense. Rather than one giant block of text,
Yeah.
you can sort of zero in on, okay, I need a phrasal verb for talk.
Precisely. Much more intuitive for learning how words work in different combinations.
And, like Longman, could you look up idioms directly?
Yep. They used talk the talk as an example again. Type it in, and you get the explanation right there.
Great. So main strengths are clarity, organization, completeness, and direct lookup. Any downsides?
The main weakness noted was the UK versus US English thing. Lexico apparently doesn't explain the differences in pronunciation or usage.
Ah, okay. So if distinguishing between British and American English is really important for you, that's a gap.
Right. It depends on your priorities, I suppose. But that was the main point against it.
But overall.
Overall, they basically said it had the cleanest, most intuitive design of all the dictionaries tested.
Wow. So it sounds like for a lot of learners, especially intermediate or maybe even beginners, Lexico could be a really solid, easy-to-use choice.
That seems to be the conclusion, yeah. A great balance of thoroughness and usability.
Okay. So we have our top two.
Yeah.
But the tests also flagged some dictionaries that, well, maybe didn't perform so well. Ones to be a bit cautious about.
Right, it's useful to know what not to rely on, too.
Definitely. Let's start with one that might surprise people. Cambridge. The person doing the test actually used to use Cambridge as their main dictionary.
Oh, really? So what did they find?
Well, turns out it wasn't as complete as they thought. Definitions were sometimes missing, and the lists of phrasal verbs and idioms weren't always comprehensive.
Huh. Interesting. Goes to show you should check these things.
Yeah, and a big issue was the layout. They said it was confusing because it sort of merges results from a British English dictionary, an American English one, and a business English one all onto the same page.
Oh, I can see how that would get messy. Information overload, maybe.
Hard to find what you need quickly. Okay, next one. Dictionary.com.
Ah, yes. That one's very well known.
It is, but the testers pointed out it's not really its own dictionary. It just pulls information from lots of other sources.
Right.
An aggregator.
And does that cause problems?
It seems so. They found the info was poorly organized. Lots hidden behind Seymour links, kind of randomly.
Yeah.
And it was weak on idioms and collocations. Plus, you couldn't look up phrasal verbs directly.
Right, that direct lookup is a key feature missing then. Not ideal if you're trying to learn quickly.
Not at all. Okay, then there was Collins. Now, Collins had some good points, pretty complete, clear explanations, good examples. However...
There's always a however, isn't there?
Seems like it. Their issue was Collins mixes noun and verb definitions together in one big list.
Oh, that is unusual. Most dictionaries separate by part of speech, right?
Exactly. The tester found it confusing, said it goes against how people usually look things up.
I could see that. Makes it harder to scan for what you need.
Yeah. And like Cambridge, it also tries to show results from multiple Collins dictionaries on one page, which again led to a feeling of it being cluttered and confusing. You might miss stuff.
A pattern emerging with trying to combine too much, maybe?
Could be. All right, Macmillan. Their unique quirk, and not a good one according to the test, is putting different parts of speech on totally separate pages.
Separate pages. So if you look up talk.
You get the verb definitions.
Yeah.
But if you want the noun talk, you have to click an other entries box to go to a different page.
Wow, that sounds really inconvenient, especially on a phone.
Very. Plus, they found it wasn't fully complete and didn't have UK usage info. It did have good verb complement explanations and direct phrasal verb lookup, though. So a bit mixed, but that separate page thing sounds like a deal breaker.
Yeah, usability seems quite poor there.
Okay, wordreference.com. People might know this one for translations.
Right, it's great for bilingual stuff.
It is. It has an English-only dictionary, too, but the verdict was probably not your best primary choice.
Right.
Like dictionary.com, it pulls from multiple sources.
Leading to
too much information, repetition, overwhelm. And again, no direct lookup for phrasal verbs or idioms.
So, similar issues to the other aggregators.
Pretty much. EUT. Word reference has one really standout, unique feature.
Oh, what's that?
Audio pronunciations in loads of different regional accents.
No way. Like what?
Not just standard UK-US, but Irish, Jamaican, even some regional UK and US accents.
Wow, that's actually incredibly cool.
Yeah.
Really useful for listening comprehension and understanding variety in English.
Totally. So the recommendation was maybe use word reference specifically for that feature for hearing different pronunciations, but probably don't rely on it for everything else.
Ah, like a specialist tool for pronunciation. Makes sense.
Exactly. Okay, nearly there. Chambers Dictionary.
Don't know that one as well.
Yeah, the verdict was quick. Probably not great for language learners. The web design is apparently poor, like blocks of text from a print dictionary.
Not very web-friendly then.
Nope. And it doesn't seem aimed at learners' fewer examples. Not much on complements or phrasal verbs. No direct lookup.
Okay, so maybe more for native speakers or linguists?
Perhaps. And finally, Merriam-Webster, another big name.
Right. How did that one do?
Not great either, actually. They found incomplete lists of phrasal verbs and idioms, sort of hit or miss.
Inconsistent.
Yeah. And no info on UK-US differences or verb complements. The examples weren't always full sentences, apparently, making them harder to understand. And the design was described as weird and confusing.
Not exactly glowing terms for a dictionary website.
Not really.
Ew.
They did note you could look up phrasal verbs directly, and it includes some real-life examples from the web, though sometimes they were miscategorized. So, again, kind of inconsistent.
Right. Seems like consistency and clarity were major dividing lines in these tests.
Absolutely. So after going through all this, the person running the tests had a bit of a revelation. They were genuinely surprised Cambridge didn't do better, and they've actually switched their own go-to dictionaries now.
To Longman and Lexico.
Exactly. And their final thought was interesting. While Longman is probably the absolute best overall in terms of sheer detail, they actually recommend Lexico for most learners because it hits that sweet spot of being comprehensive and really easy to use.
That makes a lot of sense. Usability is huge for learning. That personal shift really underlines the value of doing this kind of testing, doesn't it?
It really does. Don't just assume the famous name is the best tool for you.
Good advice. These clear recommendations, based on actual testing, are super helpful for people trying to navigate all the options.
Okay, so just to quickly recap the main takeaways for everyone listening.
Right.
If you want the absolute deepest dive, the most comprehensive option, especially if you're advanced, Longman looks like the winner.
Longman for depth. Got it.
But for a really excellent, thorough, and super user-friendly dictionary, maybe especially if you're intermediate or below, but potentially for anyone, Lexico seems like a fantastic choice.
Lexico for clarity and usability, while still being complete.
Right.
Those are the two big ones to check out based on this.
Provides a really solid starting point for people to make an informed choice.
So here's maybe something to chew on for you listening right now. Which online dictionary are you using currently? Does it tick all those boxes we talked about?
And after hearing this, are you maybe thinking about trying Longman or Lexico? Or sticking with what you've got?
Yeah, or do you have your own favorite we didn't cover or experiences you want to share? It's worth thinking about the tools you use every day.
Definitely. A good moment to reflect.
Yeah.
Are your current tools really helping you learn as effectively as possible?
Exactly. Because honestly, choosing the right resources can make a real difference. Something as basic as your online dictionary. It can seriously impact how well you understand English and how quickly you make progress. It absolutely can. Making informed choices about your learning tools, like your dictionary, is a key part of taking control of your language journey and setting yourself up for success.